I was standing on the vast African plateau, the sheer scale of the landscape humbling, when my phone rang and I heard the news about Chloe getting married. The voice of my old high school friend, Sam, crackled through the satellite connection, fading in and out with the unreliable signal. "Back then," he was saying, his words broken by static, "everyone really thought you two would end up together, Liam. Are you thinking about flying back to crash the wedding?" I gazed out at the incredible sight of the great animal migration unfolding before me, a river of life flowing across the savannah. It was a potent, awe-inspiring reminder of how precious and fleeting existence is, a uniquely African kind of romance. Had I truly moved on? I stared blankly into the distance, let out a small, hollow chuckle, and thought to myself that those were matters from a long time ago. What was the point in bringing them up again? But I couldn't have expected that the very next day, Chloe would travel over 10,000 kilometers to Africa, stand before me, and say, "I'm here for an answer." The signal was patchy in this remote corner of the world, and Sam's voice was coming through in disjointed fragments. He was rambling, and I was only half listening, my mind drifting as I gave absent-minded replies. The voice on the other end suddenly grew quieter, more hesitant. "Liam, did you hear? Chloe is getting married." Hearing her name after 3 years was a jolt, like a sudden shock to my system. A cascade of random memories flashed through my mind, long-suppressed moments that still carried a dull ache. "Liam? Liam, are you still there?" Sam's voice pulled me back to the present. "I'm here," I said, my own voice sounding distant. "Go on?" "Do you know who she's marrying? It's Ethan. You remember, the guy who was always chasing after her in school. Well, he liked her for years. I guess his persistence finally paid off." I managed a faint "aha" in response, barely a murmur. "Speaking of which," Sam continued, his tone tinged with a hint of regret, "everyone always thought that you and Chloe were the ones who would end up together. Man, are you thinking about flying back to crash the wedding? With how into you our class president was back in high school, if you just showed up, Ethan wouldn't stand a chance." The more he talked, the further he strayed into old territory. I frowned, interrupting him. "Those are old matters, Sam. What's the point in bringing them up again? You can joke about it with me, but don't go spreading that stuff around. Chloe's getting married now." "Hey, I'm not just making things up. Back then, when you went abroad, Chloe tried to—" His voice dissolved into a burst of static. I couldn't make out the rest of his sentence. The call was so glitchy that having a real conversation was impossible, so I simply ended it. Summer back in G-City was nothing like Africa at this time of year. There, even the breeze felt heavy with heat, and the slightest exertion would leave you drenched in sweat. It was during one of those sweltering summers, amidst the constant thrum of cicadas, that I first met Chloe. My aunt was in the middle of a heartfelt appeal to my new homeroom teacher, trying to finalize my school enrollment. "Our Liam has always been a good boy," she explained, her voice thick with emotion. "He's obedient and he studies hard. It's just, he had a tough fate, losing both his parents in that accident." Her voice cracked, and she dabbed at her eyes with a tissue while the teacher tried to offer some comforting words. I just stood there, staring down at my shoelaces. The office had no air conditioning, and just standing still for a few minutes made my skin feel sticky and uncomfortable. It was too hot. I didn't like G-City, and I definitely didn't like the looks of pity that people gave me. Even though my aunt meant well, hoping the teacher would take special care of the new orphan in his class, his sympathetic eyes felt like needles pricking my skin. Memories of that horrific day replayed in my mind. The mangled wreckage, my parents trying to shield me, my desperate and futile attempts to stop the bleeding. My eyes darted around the room, searching for anything to distract myself, to calm the restlessness churning inside me. That's when I saw her. A girl, about my age, was sitting on a small stool in the corner, seemingly oblivious to her surroundings, completely focused on grading a stack of papers. She must have been asked by one of the teachers to help out. Watching her, surprisingly, settled some of the anxiety within me. My aunt continued her story. This child witnessed his own parents' deaths. The doctor said he has PTSD and has temporarily lost the ability to speak. But please rest assured, teacher, our Liam is very smart. The inability to speak is just temporary. I blinked slowly, my gaze fixed on the girl. As if sensing my stare, she looked up. She was stunning in a way that could only be described as bright and beautiful. A warm smile lit up her face as she waved at me and silently mouthed, "Hi, I'm Chloe." I used sign language to reply, "Hello?" Suddenly, Chloe dragged her chair across the floor, the scraping noise loud enough to completely drown out my aunt's voice. All the eyes that had been on me immediately shifted to her. The teacher, at his wit's end, exclaimed, "Chloe, does your chair have pins in it? Keep it down." She paid him no mind and walked straight over to me. "I'm done with my grading," she announced. Her slender, pale hand wrapped around my wrist, sending a strange, tingling sensation up my arm. "I'll show the new student around. You've got all these teachers hovering over him. You're scaring him half to death." She wasn't particularly tall. I had to look down slightly to meet her smiling eyes. Ignoring the calls of the teachers behind us, Chloe led me out of the stuffy office, and I just followed her, feeling a little dazed. "Officially," she said once we were in the hallway, "I'm Chloe, the class president. If you ever need anything, just come to me." The sunlight caught her amber-colored eyes, making her seem impossibly full of life. It was hard not to be captivated by how bright and vibrant she was. I pointed to my throat to indicate that I couldn't speak and pulled out a small notebook from my pocket. "Hi, I'm Liam," I wrote. Feeling that was a bit too formal, I drew a little smiley face next to it. Chloe took the notebook from me, the smile in her eyes spreading even wider. Later, I asked her why she had pulled me out of the office that first day we met. She answered nonchalantly, "Because you were asking me for help, remember?" Chloe shifted her stack of books and moved her desk right next to mine, winking at me as she turned away from the blackboard. I let out a small laugh. Having an outgoing, helpful class president as a desk mate was probably the teacher's arrangement. I had to revise my initial impression of her. She was the most talkative, self-introduced person I had ever met. "Hey, how did you learn sign language?" she asked. "It's not hard," I wrote. "I can teach you if you want." "Can you swear at someone in sign language? If you wanted to cuss someone out, would you have to move your hand super fast?" Her questions came in a rapid-fire succession that I couldn't possibly keep up with. I just looked at her, chuckling, and signed, "What?" "What does that mean? I can't read that," she said, scratching her head in confusion. "Trust me," I signed back slowly. "I don't need to hurry to cuss you out." I initially thought Chloe was just a chatterbox, but after spending more time with her, I realized she only babbled like that with me. I never quite understood how she managed to maintain a one-sided conversation with someone who couldn't speak. It wasn't until much later that I accidentally found several books on psychology tucked away in her desk. Chloe, in her earnest and somewhat naive way, had gotten the idea that when dealing with someone who has closed themselves off due to stress disorders, you should constantly try to find topics that interest them to encourage them to open up. She was a truly earnest and sweet person. I swore to myself that I would never use sign language to mumble about her to her face again. It just wasn't right to mess with someone so genuinely kind. Adjusting to the new environment was difficult for me. My classmates were curious at first, but after realizing how hard it was to communicate with me, they mostly left me alone. I didn't mind, but Chloe became anxious on my behalf. "That's not okay," she insisted. People are social creatures. How can you not make any friends? Isn't that what you're here for? I wrote back half-heartedly. You're my friend, right? Chloe stammered, Well, yes, but that's not enough. She became incredibly passionate about introducing me to her circle of friends, taking me everywhere with her and acting like a social butterfly. It was then that I realized Chloe was genuinely popular. She had friends everywhere. It wasn't surprising. People who are outgoing, positive, and straightforward are always welcomed. Thanks to her, I gradually became a part of the group. Our new math teacher seemed like a gentle person, except for his habit of calling on students at random. Liam, he called out one day, could you please answer this question? I was startled, my eyes locking with the teacher's gentle gaze. From the back of the classroom, a girl's mocking voice piped up. Teacher, he can't talk. Why did you call on him? I turned to see it was a girl I had never interacted with. Sensing my gaze, she rolled her eyes at me. Someone sitting near the teacher quietly explained my situation to him. He looked a bit embarrassed and quickly apologized. I'm sorry, Liam. I wasn't aware of your situation. I clenched my fists under my desk, sitting in silence, but Chloe suddenly yanked me to my feet with surprising force. Hey, teacher, that's favoritism, she declared loudly. You're letting Liam off the hook just because you think he can't answer. We're all here to learn. No one is better than anyone else. He just can't speak right now. Can't he write the answer on the board? Chloe put a heavy emphasis on the words, right now. She poked me with her pen. Go on. You always chat so much with me. Her greatest quality was that she never treated me like I was fragile. She didn't look at me with pity. To her, I was just a regular person, and not being able to speak wasn't a big deal. Still, her taking me to karaoke as if I could sing was a bit much. While eating in the bustling cafeteria one day, I blended into the crowd and, when I thought no one was watching, quietly stuck my leg out. The girl who had mocked me in class tripped and fell, her lunch tray clattering and spilling everywhere. Serves her right for calling me a mute, I thought. I slipped back into my group of friends, only to look up and meet Chloe's amused gaze. Oh no, I was caught. Who was it? Who was careless enough to trip me? The girl whined. Chloe quickly pulled me behind her, her small frame standing firmly in front of me as a shield. I tried to sneak a peek around her, but she nudged me back with her hand, the warmth of her palm seeping through my thin school uniform. You're really warm, I wrote on the notepad I always carried, a necessity for having a chatty companion who didn't know sign language. Chloe hadn't expected my first message to be that. Don't change the subject, she chuckled. I didn't know you held grudges like that. I pulled away from her, grinning. What, are you going to turn me in, Miss Perfect? I scribbled. Miss Justice herself? Chloe chased after me. What kind of image do you have of me, really? Caught off guard by her words, I sincerely apologized and explained. I checked. Nobody noticed. Except I did, she giggled. I quickly wrote another note, realizing my words could be misinterpreted, and was about to rip the page off when Chloe leaned closer, a blush spreading across her cheeks. I'm off to lunch, I wrote instead. Later she came by my desk with a package. Try some of our local treats. I wrote her a note. If you want to admire me, feel free. I know I'm handsome. Confused, Chloe asked, Why aren't you speaking? You don't like it? I sighed. This oblivious sweetheart hadn't seen the note. I waved it in front of her face. She scanned my face and then smiled. Yeah, you are. Her straightforwardness left me speechless. I started fanning myself with my hand. It's quite hot, I wrote. My face is red. She sure was something else. But the magnolia leaves outside the window were already gone, signaling the arrival of autumn. The once vibrant schoolyard was now in a state of decay. Since my parents had passed away, I often volunteered at the local orphanage. The place was old and outdated, and the children there all had their own issues. "You're back," a little girl named Lily exclaimed. "I love your clean scent," she said, carefully tapping her way towards me with her cane. Her eyes were cloudy. She had been blind since birth and was abandoned soon after. I playfully lifted her high into the air. "Missed me?" I asked. "Yep, we had math today and I did really well," she chirped. Watching her animatedly share her stories filled me with a quiet joy, and I would respond back and forth with her easily. "Liam!" a voice exclaimed. I turned, my body instantly tensing, but relaxed when I saw it was Chloe. "Why are you here?" she asked, her eyes narrowed. "We had a video call last night. What, did some miracle cure you overnight?" I awkwardly touched my nose. It's not like I could just tell her it had all been an act. Chloe shot a stare at me, the clueless one just standing there, and said with exaggerated disbelief, "Did I see that wrong? How could this be my little desk buddy from yesterday?" She had turned me down for a trip to the amusement park, claiming she was busy. My guilt multiplied. Whatever explanation I had been planning to give simply wouldn't come out. I silently turned and headed for the kitchen. It was time to start making food for the little ones. A moment later, a little girl whispered in my ear, "That older sister wanted me to tell you that if you don't make it up to her soon, she's going to get really mad." What? Chloe hadn't left? I thought she was long gone, furious with me. I rushed out of the kitchen and, sure enough, I saw that stubborn figure crouched by the door. I mimicked her, crouching down and slowly inching my way towards her. As I inched, she inched away. Finally, I grabbed her arm. "Stop moving or you'll fall off," I said. Chloe huffed. "Why do you even care? What am I to you anyway? There are tons of people more important than me. Go make them food. Leave me here to starve or die from anger." I was floored. What a jumble of nonsense. "I do care," I said softly. "I just didn't want us to say things we don't mean when we're upset. I was just inside picking vegetables and trying to think of how to apologize to you." "Really?" she asked, turning her head. I could see her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "Did you cry?" Chloe buried her head in my shoulder, her muffled voice trailing through the fabric of my shirt. "Yeah," she admitted. "Sorry." I looked up at the sky, feeling an unexpected sense of relief. "There are a lot of rumors about my parents at school, and they're not all true," I began to explain. "They were aid doctors in Africa, so I grew up bouncing around between different relatives' homes. I recalled my childhood, how by elementary school I realized I was different. Other kids had their parents around, and I cried out for mine. The adults always told me their work was important and that I should stop making a fuss. I was heartbroken. My parents ended up having to come back during their vacations just to spend time with me. In Africa, sometimes." I trailed off, then abruptly changed the topic. "Chloe, have you ever seen the Great Migration? I'll take you there someday." Chloe blinked, her long lashes tickling my skin. "All right," she whispered. "We'll go together." "They promised they would come back for my birthday," I continued, my voice growing tight. "But they canceled at the last minute because of work. I got angry and told them I'd run away, like some immature kid. So they rushed back, booking a flight that very night. I expected them to scold me, but they didn't. Instead, they made up for my lost birthday." My throat tightened, and I sniffed. "The day they were supposed to leave, I went with them to the airport. On the way, we got hit by a drunk driver. I always thought they didn't love me, but when it came down to it, they protected me first. My mom's last words were, 'Liam, don't blame yourself. We failed you.' She knew me so well, comforting me even in her last moments." Tears stung my eyes. I wake up in the middle of the night, questioning if my tantrum hadn't happened. Would they still be here? I didn't mean to shut people out. I I just didn't know how to face any of it. Chloe held me close, gently patting my back. It wasn't your fault, she murmured. Let it all out. Crying is okay, Liam. A new day is always ahead. A few weeks later, Chloe was just passing me a glass of water in the classroom when everyone around us went, "Ooh," in a teasing chorus. I glanced over at Chloe, who was standing next to me with a smug little smile on her face. I couldn't help but nudge her with my elbow. She stood up and coughed dramatically. What is everyone doing? I'm just practicing good teamwork and friendship with my desk mate. The laughter that followed was even more suggestive. Oh, we know. Studies were so mundane that any piece of juicy gossip spread like wildfire. Holy moly, Liam! Liam, get down there, quick! It was Sam, calling from the back of the class. As I looked up, confused, about to ask what was going on, he explained. Chloe, our class rep, is getting confessed to by Ethan from the other class. Rumor has it they've known each other forever, and he transferred to this school just for her. I thought it over. Ethan, that nice-looking, hard-working boy-next-door type. Sam shook my shoulder. What are you thinking about, Liam? If you don't make a move, Chloe might get swept away. I passed him a note. Sam read it, a surprised look on his face. If she can be taken, she's better off with him. He leaned back in his chair and gave me a thumbs up. Look at Liam's cool composure, he announced to those around him. And then look at Chloe's anxious, flustered reaction down there. Liam's totally got her under his control. On a rare PE day, the classroom was mostly empty. Chloe lay face down on her desk, pretending to be napping. Underneath the carefully arranged piles of books, she hooked her pinky finger with mine, teasing, "Why did you go around telling everyone I'm a wildcat?" She was always the cool big sister out in the open, but she loved being playful like this, just with me. I gave her hand a playful shake in response. Chloe lifted her head, her hair a mess, and anxiously tried to explain. I didn't even touch Ethan. I had to let him down easy. I couldn't humiliate him in front of everyone. She looked like a Persian kitten that you just wanted to cuddle. With no one else around, I leaned over and stole a quick kiss on her cheek. Crash! A stack of books and a chair toppled over. Chloe, too tongue-tied to speak properly, stammered, "What was that?" She was freaking out, but trying desperately to play it cool. "Feeling great," I grinned. "Chloe, after finals, will you be with me?" Time flew by, and soon finals and the promise of summer were easing in together. It was another hot, hot summer. With final exams only about 2 weeks away, the tension in the school was palpable, stretched as tight as a bowstring. All personal feelings had to take a back seat to this major life step. Recently, both Chloe and I had been getting jittery and stressed, breaking out with cold sores on our lips. Sam came over with a textbook. "Liam, could you help me take a look at this question?" I walked him through the problem step by step. "Where did Chloe go?" he asked casually. I scribbled on a blank part of my draft paper. She went to get something to drink. Sam was already used to how the two of us were. It wasn't like we had some super intimate and ambiguous relationship, but there was this special vibe between us that nobody else could really penetrate. She must be getting you some herbal tea to cool you off, right? Faced with my friend's teasing, I neither confirmed nor denied it, just smiled back at him. Sam surrendered, holding both his hands up. All right. I guess I asked for nothing." The sky outside was filled with heavy clouds, hot and with no breeze. The school wanted us to be able to study without distractions, so they had even gone to the trouble of catching the cicadas in the trees outside. Everyone was racing against time with their studies, and the only sound in the classroom was the scratching of pens on paper. Chloe and I weren't on the same academic level, so I was trying my best to plan everything out, hoping we could attend universities in the same city. That way, we could both chase our own passions while still staying close to each other. Chloe, however, didn't seem to care about the details. "What's the big deal? I can just go to whatever school you like. I don't want us to be apart." I gave her a gentle tap on the head with my pen. "Chloe, we can never sacrifice our futures for someone else." She yelped in feigned pain. "But you're not someone else." Suddenly, a voice, out of breath, came from behind me. I wondered who would be running so fast in this heat. "Liam, something's happened to Chloe." My heart started pounding erratically. I ran as fast as I could, so fast that I lost a shoe along the way. I tripped and fell several times, my palms stinging from the scrapes. By the time I got there, all that was left was a large pool of blood on the ground and a helpless-looking Ethan standing nearby. "Chloe!" My voice was so sharp and hoarse that I couldn't believe it was my own. A circle of students had formed, whispering amongst themselves. "Isn't that the mute from Chloe's class? He's speaking now. Oh my God, he's talking!" Poor guy. Chloe got hurt because of another boy. She bled so much her hand might be ruined. I stood there, bewildered and powerless. Sam arrived and covered my ears. "Liam, don't listen to them." Our classmates started shoving the gawkers away. "What are you guys talking about? Get lost!" Chloe's hand wasn't useless, but she definitely couldn't take the upcoming college entrance exams. In the hospital room, she looked pale as she spoke, her voice a bit aggrieved. "What took you so long to get here?" I kept my head down, quietly peeling an apple, pretending to be busy. Chloe tried all sorts of ways to sweet-talk me and explain what had happened, but I ignored her. Finally, her expression cooled. "Ethan was surrounded by bullies," she said defensively. "I couldn't just stand by and do nothing." I knew what she was upset about. She was upset that I didn't seem to care about her injuries, upset that I remained stony-faced despite all her efforts to explain, upset that I was giving her the cold shoulder. But weren't these just the consequences of her own choices? I shut my eyes, striving for a calm tone. "Are you a little kid, Chloe? If someone was in danger, couldn't you call the police or ask someone for help? Didn't you notice the school security guard was nearby? Did you have to step in and play the hero? You're about to graduate high school, aren't you aware of that? Don't you care about your hands? Don't you care about the future I planned for us? What do your promises to me even mean if you act like that? Did you even think about me for a second when you rushed in?" Chloe held back tears. "What are we, anyway? Do I even have the right to think about you?" I scoffed. "How heartless of you to say that. Is it your hero complex, or is it just because it was Ethan?" Reckless with her words. Now, she shot back. "Not everyone is as cold as you are, Liam. Yeah, I helped him because it was Ethan." I stood up and headed for the door. "There's nothing more to say." "Fine, leave then, see if I care," she yelled after me. I took one step out of the room before a hand grabbed me tightly. Chloe's sobs broke through. "I'm sorry, Liam. I was just rambling. Please don't be mad. This is all my fault. Will you wait for me? Just give me 1 year." I carefully pried her fingers off my arm, one by one. "Chloe, I won't stop moving forward for anyone." Tears streamed down her face, and she gritted her teeth. "If you leave now, don't ever come back." I chuckled lightly, always so tough, but never growing up. I made a sign with my hand, a gesture that meant jerk, and then another that meant goodbye forever. As soon as I left the room, I heard the sound of things crashing around inside. At the door, our classmates looked at me with worried expressions. "Liam!" I kept my composure. "She's fine," I said. "Go check on her." Inside, Chloe wiped her tears. "Crying is no help. He doesn't care about me." "Hey, it's okay," a friend comforted her. "Our class rep is smart. Repeating a grade for a year isn't a big deal." "Yeah, exactly," others chimed in. Sam broke the silence. You shouldn't have said that to Liam. He really cares about you. His own hands haven't even healed yet. After a pause, someone else spoke up. You really shouldn't have messed with Liam like that. The room grew quiet. The day of the college entrance exam brought heavy rain, a sort of unspoken tradition here in G-City. My palms still hurt a bit from my fall, but it didn't affect my writing. On the last day when we finally left the exam room, the sun was shining brightly. My aunt was waiting for me, wearing a new, cheap Cheongsam dress. "Beautiful," she said, beaming. "Another milestone achieved. Your illness is gone, and I can finally feel at peace with my sister." She handed me a big red envelope. "Good things are coming for you, Liam." I skipped the final class gathering, and instead spent a few days at a temple where my parents' memorial tablets were kept. I watched the comings and goings of visitors, sometimes helping the young monks with their sutra copying, just passing the time. Sam mentioned that Chloe had been waiting for me with flowers, but I didn't pay it any attention. My aunt thought I was becoming too reclusive and worried I might decide to become a monk, so she urged me to travel. I ended up going to Africa, where some of my parents' former colleagues looked after me. I stayed there until it was time for university to start. I didn't focus on sightseeing. Instead, I just wandered around, shopping in the local markets and walking the same paths my parents had once walked, observing the life they had seen. On the first day of school, I boarded a plane with my luggage in hand. My aunt called to nag me. "Kid, you've been out there for so long, and you haven't even come home. Should Auntie buy a ticket to come visit you at your school? You're just a young guy, and you have so many things to deal with at the start of the school year. Everyone else has their family with them, but you're all alone." I had to say a lot of nice things to talk her out of that idea. The plane shot through the clouds, and the view from above was an endless expanse of white. The buildings on the ground, which seemed so big from below, now looked as tiny as ants. I felt an unexpected sense of calm. Nothing was wrong. It was exactly how I had imagined it would be. I blinked. The only thing missing was someone beside me. "Hey, do you know that girl over there?" a kind stranger next to me mentioned. "She keeps looking at you." I looked and saw Chloe standing at a distance, looking defeated. "Nope, I don't know her," I replied with a smile. "But thanks for the heads up, I'll be careful." I walked ahead, and Chloe followed closely behind. Hearing me say I didn't know her made her look even paler. Actually, she had been there on registration day too. I have no idea how she found out which school I had applied to. She was squatting by a flower bed, her eyes red and swollen. When I turned to look at her, she quickly tried to hide behind a tree, stumbling and falling awkwardly in the process. She was a real mess. Since then, Chloe kept popping up in my life. At first, she was sneaky and hidden. Then she started intentionally getting noticed. And now she was following me around like a stalker. I never said a word to her. One night, the sky unleashed a torrential downpour. My roommate pulled back the curtain on my bed. "Liam, are you awake? That girl is still standing downstairs." I froze. "It looks like there's lightning too," he added. I grabbed a jacket and an umbrella, finally giving in. When I got downstairs, Chloe's eyes lit up. I threw the umbrella at her. "Are you crazy? It's pouring. Go find some cover." She was drenched from head to toe and didn't dare touch me. "I'm happy, Liam," she said, her voice trembling. "Honestly, it's my fault. I was an idiot. I shouldn't have ever asked you to wait for me. Just let me catch up, please. Please don't give up on me." I stayed silent as the rain ran down my face, tasting salty in my mouth. "Go back and study," I finally said. "Focus on your exams." Chloe begged. "Okay, I will. I'll study hard, Liam. Maybe just reply to me sometimes. I'm not asking for a lot, just 1 or 2 messages." "Fine," I relented. Seeing me soften slightly, Chloe started clinging on. She would call and complain about the stress of retaking her exams, and I would mock her for bringing it on herself. We often hung up in frustration. Unless we avoided that topic, our conversations remained civil. I never thought her mother would come looking for me. "Liam, I've seen your profile. You're an impressive young man," she began, her tone polite but cold. I felt my palms begin to sweat. "Thank you, ma'am," I said. The elegant woman sipped her coffee. "Your parents were great people, but it's sad they passed away so early. My daughter, it seems, is very fond of you, so much so that she is neglecting her studies. I know you two met at the orphanage. From that moment, it should have been clear that you are from two different worlds. One is a wealthy heiress using charity work to bolster her family's name. The other is a volunteer with no status. My daughter has already missed one important exam for a man. I can't let her ruin herself further. You're a great boy, but our family will not allow a penniless orphan to marry into it." That was it. I couldn't take any more. I picked up my cup and splashed the hot coffee in her face. "That's for disrespecting my parents," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "And whatever is between Chloe and me is none of your business. If you could actually control her, you wouldn't have traveled all the way here just to scold me. Since you're so well off, why don't you just send Chloe overseas? Or is it that she's refusing to go?" Her face flushed with anger. Of course Chloe was unwilling to leave. I blocked her incoming slap. "You might want to treat me decently," I warned, "or I'll just spill the beans to Chloe about this little meeting. I have a class to get to, so I'll be leaving. Also, make sure you pay for the coffee." A few days later, Chloe called, and I was ready to tell her all about her mother. But before I could, she asked, "Liam, who's the girl in that photo with you?" I frowned. "Which girl?" "The one hugging you. How can she hold on to you like that?" I was losing my patience. "I told you, she's my senior. How many times do I have to explain this? Besides, it was just an optical illusion." Chloe's mom kept meddling, getting my scholarship application rejected. Chloe's jealousy was suffocating. Those two had pushed me to the edge. During a club gathering, Chloe called again, and my senior answered the phone. Chloe started screaming over the line, completely embarrassing my senior. We had to leave the party in a mess. Her mom had messed up my scholarship, and Chloe kept creating drama. I had had enough. "Talk to me when you're calm," I told her over the phone later. "We can avoid saying things we don't mean." "You're just ignoring me again," she cried. "You call this dealing with things, but it's just the silent treatment. Do you think I don't know that you've moved on? That you're sick of me? You've never cared about me, right? I'm just like a pet to you. You toy with me when it pleases you and forget about me when it doesn't. I'm so into you, but you just keep acting so cold." The unspoken complications, the endless fighting, the unresolved gaps, the distance, the strained communication, the trouble caused by her mother and her own immaturity and our unclear future. My head throbbed. Veins pulsed in my temples as I clutched the phone. "Chloe, why do you think you have the right to tell me who I can and can't be friends with? And there's one thing you're right about. I've never liked you." After that, I heard Chloe went overseas. We lost all contact. Buried in my studies, I didn't have the time or energy to dwell on it. After graduation, I took a job opportunity in Africa. Once my workday was done, I sighed in relief. Seeing Sam's name pop up on my phone screen, I chuckled. He had been calling me so much lately. "What's up?" I answered. "Don't tell me you're calling about Chloe's wedding, too." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Liam, Chloe ran away from the wedding. I think she might be coming to look for you." I was stunned for a moment. Then I laughed. "Come on, Sam. We dated 7 years ago. What is there to even remember about such an immature relationship?" "You might not care, but Chloe has never really let go," Sam sighed. "When you went to Africa, Chloe went nuts trying to find out what happened to you. She's been pushing her family's business into Africa like crazy. You really believe she's over you?" I stared off into space. How could that be? Sam sounded frustrated. Fine, let's not talk about Chloe. What about you? Do you really not care at all? An early love that never even got off the ground? The person who was a shining light for you during your lowest times? Someone who stuck around despite all the harsh words you threw at her? And then you find out she's been waiting for you all these years? He didn't buy for a second that I was indifferent. If I was really over it, I wouldn't still be single. I stayed quiet for a long time, then mumbled, "I've never regretted the decisions I made back then." "Liam, that's all in the past," Sam said gently. "But if Chloe does come to find you, I hope you can just talk to her. Stop avoiding her." A few days earlier, Chloe had woken up on time, as usual, following her strict daily routine. She dialed that familiar number once more. "Sorry, Miss Chloe. We still haven't found any trace of Mr. Liam." Her face remained blank. "Keep looking, no matter the cost." 7 years of waiting. What was a little longer? There was a charity event at an orphanage that afternoon. Chloe smoothed out her elegant outfit and forced a smile into the mirror. "Liam, do I look nice in this?" she whispered to her reflection. The room was eerily quiet. There was no one else there. She was just trying to convince herself that he would like it. Chloe had done a lot of charity work over the years, and these kinds of events were second nature to her now. Today's event was for deaf children. A little boy was eyeing a cake on the table, and Chloe passed a piece to him with a warm grin. He used sign language to thank her, but she didn't understand the gestures, so she just smiled back. Even with all her interactions over the years, she had never managed to learn sign language. Except she remembered the gestures Liam had once used, though they weren't exactly nice ones. And she recognized one of the boy's gestures now. It was identical to the way Liam had insulted her from his hospital bed all those years ago. She frowned. "Hey, cursing isn't cool." The observant director of the orphanage rushed over. "Oh no, you've misunderstood. He's thanking you. That last sign means, 'I like you.'" Chloe trembled, feeling her knees go weak. It means that—" Yes, is there a problem?" the director asked, confused by her sudden emotional change. The bullet from 7 years ago finally struck home, and now Chloe was in agony. A successful, powerful woman, she felt her back bend under the weight of it. She laughed and cried at the same time, covering her face with her hands. Little liar. I admit, my methods back then were immature. I was too decisive, leaving no room for explanation. When faced with complex emotions, most people try to tackle the problems head-on. I chose to end things. I really did like Chloe. But as I told Sam, I don't regret my choices. A year isn't a long time, but Chloe's immature nature was filled with too many uncertainties. Today she might rush in to save Ethan. Tomorrow she might propose marriage on a whim. I'm all for heroics, but safety has to come first. Expecting me to keep stepping back to protect her just wasn't fair. And her mother's attitude made it clear that our future together was anything but certain. Don't feed me that love conquers all nonsense. For kids like us, a love without parental support rarely lasts. Maybe my solution wasn't perfect, but it avoided years of future drama. The sadness was real, but so were the demands of my academics and future career. 7 years. Even the most intense feelings fade with time. "Liam, someone's out front for you," a local colleague called out to me. The local dialect caught me off guard for a second. The closer I got to the front gate, the more my palms began to sweat. A name was on my lips. A name I couldn't stop myself from whispering. No way. Memories blurred, then sharpened into focus as I approached. She had shed her girlishness, but she looked weary from travel, her clothes all wrinkled. She was curled up on the curb, looking up at me pitifully. Liam. All the lines I had rehearsed, like "long time no see," vanished, replaced by an unexpected surge of anger. "Are you crazy? What are you doing here?" Chloe's eyes clung to me like glue, ignoring my glare. "The wedding was just what my parents wished for," she explained, a blush creeping up her cheeks. "Ethan ran off with his true love, and I'm here to run off with mine." "Where's your passport? Buy a ticket and go back now," I said, my voice cold as I turned away. "I'm not leaving," she declared, shadowing me step for step, just like she used to bug me in high school. "You said you wouldn't wait for me, so I worked hard to catch up. Don't you dare lie to me now." She claimed she'd grown up, but she was acting just the same. "I got kicked out for this. I lost my passport. I have no cash." Actually, she had secretly trashed her own passport, painstakingly tearing it into tiny pieces. "I'm stuck here with no idea what to do. You can't just ditch me now." She sensed a hint of affection in my gestures, and it made her bold enough to push. Her heart warmed. If he truly didn't care, he'd be long gone by now, not standing here listening to her. "Who asked you to elope with me?" I was so mad I could barely speak. "No time to get money, but you had time to dig up clothes from your high school days to pretend to be pitiful in front of me? You're an international CEO with no money? Just a few steps away from here is your family's African branch office. I'm sure they'd be happy to take you in." Chloe's eyes lit up, catching the key point. "Liam, how do you know that's our family's business? Have you been—" I got embarrassed and angry. "Who cares about your family's stuff? Your group's name is so big, it's plastered on the building like a giant billboard. Isn't it hard to miss?" The two of us kept bickering. People everywhere love to watch drama, and a small crowd of onlookers had gathered. I quickly grabbed Chloe's hand and pulled her away. She was giggling behind me. "My goodness, what was she laughing at?" She tried to sneakily entwine her fingers with mine, but I pinched her hand and she stopped. There was no choice. I took a few hours off work and brought Chloe back to my place. The moment she stepped inside, she started looking around. "What are you looking for?" I asked. "Nothing," she said. "Just checking for signs of any other women around. Seeing if I'm here as the main event or the side chick." "I'm busy with work," I said, trying to sound firm. "Just stay put here. We'll talk after I'm off." Chloe nodded happily. No helping it, she was head over heels. My colleagues teased me later. "Liam is in a good mood today, huh? Smiling all day." I touched the corners of my mouth. Rationally, I knew I shouldn't drown myself in past feelings, but emotionally, I had to embarrassingly admit, when Chloe really came all the way to Africa, I was kind of happy inside. When I opened the door to my apartment that evening, it wasn't pitch black like usual. Chloe was standing in the kitchen, and the warm light made her seem incredibly homey. "I went to the supermarket this afternoon," she announced. "I got the last of this vegetable, thankfully. Wash up and get ready to eat." She acted like she was the lady of the house, casually putting food on my plate. "I had some time this afternoon, so I cleaned the house. By the way, there's a photo of me in your desk drawer." She blinked innocently. "I didn't bring it." The implication was clear. Why did you secretly stash my photo? I swallowed the bite of food slowly, then raised my head and shot back at her. "I hid the photo." Chloe swallowed, the air suddenly charged with tension. I pretended not to notice and kept eating. "Tastes pretty good," I commented. Being stubborn is fine. An afternoon was enough for me to know what I wanted. I was still into Chloe. Now I had a bit of an income, a decent career, and good social standing. Even if I lost in love, it wouldn't cost me everything. So why not follow my heart and give it a shot? Not thinking about the future, just enjoying the moment. I wasn't that student anymore, the one who could be pushed around by her mother, unable to resist. Looking at Chloe now, peeling shrimp for me, her focus and tenderness so apparent, I chuckled softly. Once I had gotten it clear in my head, my attitude changed fast. I started throwing in a flirtatious comment every now and then. Chloe went from confused to overjoyed. The look in her eyes said she could devour me whole. She even started picking me up from work and dropping me off, managing the house like a professional homemaker. She seemed not to like me working with my colleague Helen. Chloe played nice, though, with no tantrums, acting all sweet. She started buying clothes in similar colors to mine, acting intimate in front of Helen, or bringing up our old high school stories whenever the three of us were together. I suspected her brain was filled with silly strategies like that. It wasn't doing any harm, so I just let her do her thing. Chloe's instincts were sort of right. Helen did look sad one day. "Are you sure you want to spend your life with that woman?" she asked me. Before I could answer, Chloe triumphantly rushed over, holding my hand tight, claiming her territory. She opened her mouth to say something, but seeing the look I gave her, she backed down like a shy bride. I apologized to Helen, then lifted my hand, my fingers intertwined with Chloe's. I can't say anything about the future, but right now, it's her. Chloe hurriedly pulled me home. She didn't even turn on the lights. I kissed her first. Chloe reacted like a cat on catnip. Her technique was as clumsy as a kitten's, her heavy breaths tickling my neck. She kept asking, "Liam, what did you mean earlier, I wrapped my arms around her neck. "What do you think it means, girlfriend?" She had chased me all the way to Africa, cooked for me, and cleaned for me for months. I couldn't be a coward forever. "Baby," she whispered. "You said it. No takebacks." Her fingers gently traced my lips. "Aha," I murmured. "No takebacks." For adults, love doesn't always need words. Sometimes just eye contact is enough. It was a night of madness. Chloe kept whispering in my ear, "Baby, you're mine." Yours." After the fallout with Liam, Chloe was heartbroken. Even breathing hurt. She cried alone in her room for days. Damn it. So what if she was jealous? He said he didn't like her, so why did he kiss her? But soon Chloe knew she had to apologize to Liam. It was her fault. The stress from studying was no excuse to take it out on him. Maybe that other woman had tempted him, but he hadn't indulged her anyway. She had made a scene and humiliated him in front of his friends. But Liam had to take back what he said about not liking her. She shut herself away for days, blaming herself. Then, she couldn't stay a second longer. She scrambled to find him. The guards at her house stopped her. Her mother wouldn't let her leave. She had a huge row with her family, getting bruises to show for it, but she finally managed to escape. She borrowed money from a friend and skimped by on a standing room-only train ticket, saving just enough to still buy a bouquet of flowers. When she finally got to Liam's school, he was in the middle of a debate competition. He was clad in a suit, poised on the stage, speaking eloquently. The spotlight shone on him, and he was admired by everyone in the audience. His opponent pushed him hard, but Liam remained calm and logical, completely unfazed. He worked seamlessly with the senior student beside him. At last, their team stood on the podium holding their prizes. The senior held a bouquet, and Liam gracefully accepted it. They were both smiling, a perfect pair in their prime, vibrant and full of life. The world was applauding him. Chloe had always known that Liam had goals and dreams, and that he was unwaveringly pursuing them with a fierce determination that was unstoppable. In that moment, she felt insignificant. She adjusted her plain dress, hiding the flowers she held behind her back. For the first time, she truly understood what Liam had been trying to tell her. To be with Liam, she couldn't just stand below the stage and cheer for him. She should strive to stand beside him, an acclaimed winner herself. A lasting relationship requires equal status, with both partners learning and growing together. Chloe took one last look at him, clenched her fist, tossed the flowers into the nearest trash can, and walked away without looking back. One day she would stand in front of him and boldly ask, "Liam, do you like me?" Abroad, Chloe braved the difficult days. She would sneak home whenever she could, just to see Liam. She walked the paths he walked, ate the food he liked. When things got tough, she would glance at his photo for strength. She never imagined that when she finally came back, Liam would be in Africa. No one knew exactly where. She searched for 3 years. When the secret was finally revealed and Liam's whereabouts were known, Chloe booked the very next flight, rushing to Africa as fast as she could. Thankfully, it had all been worth it. Now, as she glanced at the sleeping Liam resting his head on her arm, Chloe leaned over to plant a soft kiss on his forehead. Liam kicked in his sleep. "So hot," he mumbled. "Don't cling to me." Chloe chuckled contentedly. She turned on the air conditioner, then snuggled back up against him. She was so grateful to finally have what she had wished for all along.